Well, good evening, City of Cedar Falls. Welcome to the Standing Committee meeting of Tuesday, September 5th. And I will now call this meeting to order with a roll call from Madam Clerk.
Schultz. DeBoer.
Here.
Cruz.
Here.
Harding.
Here.
Ganfield. Sayers.
Here.
Dunn.
Here.
Council members Schultz and Ganfield absent.
Thank you. All right, tonight we're in the Community Development Committee and we have a presentation on the Future Forward Cedar Falls 2025 Community-Wide Strategic Plan, and we're going to review the current plan. And up we have Director Stephanie Sheets. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Council. Good evening. So this item was referred at goal setting in November for an update on the status of implementation of the Future Forward Plan. You might recall, and for the public's benefit, at the August 21st meeting, Council heard from our planning division about the comprehensive plan and that implementation status. So we kind of paired these together since there are a lot of similarities, but also a good information to hear these together. Before I go into reviewing the Future Forward Community-Wide Strategic Plan, I thought it might be helpful for me to just briefly repeat some of the introductory comments that I shared at the last meeting about the two plans, similarities and differences a little bit. So the comprehensive plan is a long-term planning and zoning guidance document that's based on community involvement in developing a vision and recommendations for the community. And much of that plan is policy-based. And it is a required plan because the state of Iowa requires that any zoning decisions be based or be in accordance with an adopted comprehensive plan. The Future Forward Community-Wide Strategic Plan is a little bit different. It's more about identifying projects and initiatives that are intended to elevate the focus in areas of the plan, even identify transformative opportunities. And this plan talks about how those types of initiatives or projects have the potential to result in broad and influential progress in Cedar Falls' quality of life, the business climate, and quality of place. So that's how the plan is described. So a little bit of background about the plan. This plan was initiated in spring of 2015. Typically, we've seen these plans be a mayor initiative with a community-led team. There were two co-chairs from the community that were involved in this. They're listed on the actual plan. We can share that information if you would like that. And then a number of community members were identified by the mayor to be involved in this project. The city endorsed the project in February of 2017. And myself, I updated the council on the city-led initiatives in August of 2021, just so that the city could kind of continue to keep a pulse on what was happening and particularly the items that we had some influence over. In November of 21, the council supported continuing the use of the 5-year plan. And then in November of 2022, the council referred discussion about this, which is what we're having tonight, and also included in the CIP a line item for funding for a new strategic plan, initially slated for fiscal 24 and 25. So this is a repeat of kind of my introductory comments about the purpose of a strategic plan, so I think I will skip over it since I've covered that information. Some of the information in the plan, or some of the background about it, I guess, is there are these cornerstone values that are presented in one page of the document. It elaborates on the importance that's placed on each of these items as values in this planning process. And so they talked about progress for the community, best practices and collaboration be occurring in our community, for example, education being at the forefront, having a safe and healthy environment, being inclusive and having a sense of community, economic health and opportunity being a key value, as well as connectivity. So that can mean a lot of different things. That's further explained in the plan itself, but I thought it might be helpful just to kind of put those bullet points up of some of the values that were put forward in the plan. The plan separates the various ideas and goals into outcomes and objectives, and then further kind of organize them into these 3 categories: prosperity, place, and people. And so there's a variety of outcomes and then more detailed objectives on how to try to achieve those outcomes, which I'll go through. So here it might get a little long-winded, but I thought it might be helpful just to go over each of those outcomes and mention what they are. I don't think I'm going to read everything on the slide, but just to hit on them. So in the area of prosperity, one of the outcomes is a dynamic and nationally recognized business climate, that we have talent developed and investment with a diversified tax base. 2 is that retail, commercial, and service offerings in Cedar Falls mirror other communities so that we stay really competitive with other communities, if not maybe slightly ahead of other communities. We always want to do that, don't we? 3, the Cedar River, that we continue to build on that project. I mean, that's been in the works for a long time. And we build on that with attractions and activities and beautify the river area and try to escalate our visitor revenues to the area. 4, highly attractive and unique housing options that attract and retain talent and wealth and emphasize the millennials and the retirees as a great opportunity to increase housing and make sure that we have the type of housing stock that they would be interested in. And 5, we were working really hard, and there continues to be a group working very hard to have a local co-op in Cedar Falls. Under the place outcome, 6 is that Cedar Falls is ranked in the top 10 nationally for quality of place, and that would be driven by amenities that we have and continuing to try to stay very competitive that way. Number 7, Cedar Falls is recognized as having a variety of convenient, quality, and advanced wellness and healthcare services so that people want to live here and they can use those. They're reliable and easy to access. 8, Cedar Falls is a national model for state-of-the-art connectivity for technology and transportation, serving all of our residents. 9, that we have proven and emerging approaches to sustainability and environmental conservation being used throughout the community. 10, a wealth of art, culture, and recreation and entertainment offerings for life in Cedar Falls. And 11, development of North Cedar as a featured location for residential, commercial, and recreational growth. And then under the people outcome, 12, Cedar Falls is identified as a national leader in community engagement with our university. 13, that we're welcoming as the whole community is welcoming and that we're maximizing our quality of life. 14, that Cedar Falls collaborates closely with Waterloo and other neighboring communities. And 15, that Cedar Falls leads Iowa in learning and education for all. So there's more explanation about each one of those, and now I would like to get into a little bit of some report out about some things that are happening. Now, I thought I'd start off by explaining there are 37 objectives for implementation, and that's a lot. But over, a span of 5 to 10 years, if you're gradually kind of chipping away at those and have some focus on them, they can be achievable. A lot of it, though, is a qualitative measure. There's not a lot of maybe metrics to say, it's not like this many jobs came. It just says increased jobs. So, well, how do you measure that was achieved, or at what point do you need to do a new plan? That's really tough to gauge. So I thought I'd just be out there with talking about how it's qualitative. And this did identify lead entities. Again, it was a community plan, and so one of the things that we emphasize is that who's taking the lead on trying to implement various parts of this. And so it does identify, maybe in one case it might be the city, in another it might be Gross Cedar Valley, it might be Community Main Street, College Hill Partnership, UNI, you name it. There are a variety of responsible lead entities for any number of these objectives. And so what I did is in April through July, I reached out to those lead entities. Usually the plan had a name, and so I reached out to that person or their successor, because there have been a lot of changes in some of these organizations over the past 7, 8 years, and asked them, what would you say was done to implement this? What would you say would be what you would want to convey achieved for that outcome? So I got a variety of responses, and my approach was simply to compile what people gave to me and try to make that the tone kind of the same, avoid duplication, that type of thing as much as possible, but make it pretty much still reflect their words and not something that I changed a whole lot. So that was kind of the approach to this. So now getting into kind of reporting out on a couple. I'm going to go through 8 different ones that I just kind of randomly selected, but also kind of selected to try to show the variety of the things that happened, because as you saw when I was reading through all those different outcomes, there's a wide variety of things that we could touch on. So I don't want any one area to feel like they were neglected, so I'll try to touch on a number. So on the outcome of a dynamic and nationally recognized business climate of innovation, job growth, talent development, one of the objectives was amplifying Cedar Falls' businesses and innovation support services and incubation programs for small businesses and new startups. So as I have in the document, blue text is kind of reporting out on what people would say was achieved and what worked to try to implement this. So here it was, the lead was the UNI Center for Business Growth and Innovation. So I had update information from Patrick Loonsman, Paul Kinghorn, and Carrie Dara. To put together this information. And I just selected, in some cases, I'm not listing everything that I actually have in the document, but from the slide, I'm just picking a couple to list there. So for example, the Papa John Entrepreneurial Center and Grow Cedar Valley are supporting the Red Cedar organization and opening the Mill Race co-working space. Entrepreneur services were provided in a roundtable. You and I took the lead on that, involving a number of different organizations. UNI built out a variety of programs, including the Panther Biz Hub, Business Builder Workshops, Startup Week, and others. And Grow Cedar Valley supports entrepreneur-driven efforts like the Startup Weekend in Cedar Valley. So that's just kind of an example of some of the things that happened in this area. On the outcome of highly attractive and unique housing options to attract and retain talent and wealth with emphasis on millennials and retirees, one of the objectives is to expand mixed-use development within Cedar Falls, including our business and technology parks and increasing housing units that are attractive to millennials and knowledge workers. So we have had several developments with MU zoning, that's mixed use zoning, and we have that in place in a number of areas of town, and we've updated those plans. A developer comes forward, says, I would like to change something, and we go through that process. Ones that I could name is Pinnacle Prairie. We've done at least one, if not two, master plan changes over this time frame. Green Hill Village, we had a master plan change, and we continue to have others coming through. As the market trends change, many of these developments, it was early 2000s, mid 2000s when they were initially put in place, and a lot of things can change. We've had some new building projects in downtown and College Hill. The Creekside Technology Center master plan was adopted in 2019 for the 160 acres along Highway 20 and Ridgeway and Hudson Road. And then also the city has continued to purchase industrial park land. On the outcome of Cedar Falls is ranked in the top 10 nationally for quality of place driven by lifestyle amenities in all Cedar Falls' neighborhoods. One of the objectives was about revitalizing existing public parks as needed and including interactive play features and public art. So we have new equipment installed at North Cedar Elementary. Best Streeter Park Playground has new equipment. Island Park has improvements occurring, a 9-hole disc golf course, petanque, and horseshoe pits, and there's more work anticipated through a master plan that was developed. Searley Park, we're planning improvements there, a new playground, grading work to support the access to this playground and the park itself, a new shelter, and that's all being planned with the neighborhood group and anticipated in 2024. And Orchard Hill Park will be seeing improvements through a partnership with the Pickleball Club to expand the pickleball courts, the parking lot seeing improvements and expansion, and a new shelter, and that will be kicking off soon. On the outcome of Cedar Falls is ranked in the top 10 nationally for quality of place driven by lifestyle amenities in, sorry, am I repeating here? In all Cedar Falls neighborhoods. It feels like a little bit of a repeat, sorry. Objective 6C is develop online social network of residents to strengthen neighborhood communication. We do, as staff, liaison to several neighborhood groups. We go to the North Cedar Neighborhood Association, we go to the Community Main Street meetings, the College Hill Partnership meetings, and others that we might be invited to attend at various times as requested. The city established a free public agency account on Nextdoor in 2019, and our communications specialist has been posting city announcements there since 2020. And at this point, in July of 2023, that site has almost 8,000 members that represent almost 6,000 households in Cedar Falls. On the objective of Cedar Falls is a national model for state-of-the-art connectivity for technology and transportation, serving all residents, organizations, and businesses. The objective 8A about addressing transportation accessibility, affordability, and parking for residents, students, and workers of all mobility. Some of the things that we think are important to highlight is the University Avenue project that added bus shelters and bus pullouts, a sidewalk on one side and a trail on one side to increase ability to get around in that commercial corridor. Sharrows have been added on a variety of corridors since this plan was endorsed. The bike pedestrian plan was updated in 2022. We have a trail snow removal map that was created, and we've worked with the Bike Pedestrian Committee very closely on that. And we've kicked off the Main Street reconstruction, which includes on-street bike paths, sidewalks, and a number of bus stops. On the outcome of development of North Cedar as a featured location for residential, commercial, and recreational growth, an objective in the plan was that North Cedar neighborhood development addressing the Center Street project, connectivity and funding strategies. That's worded a little odd. I did just double check that that's how it read in the plan because I think it's kind of odd. But anyway, to report out on what's happened there, trail along Center Street was installed in 2017 and 18 with the help of a state grant. The Neighborhood Association took on fundraising to add amenities of decorative lighting, benches, bike racks, and trash receptacles to the Center Street streetscaping project, which kicked off and is completed. Just punch list items, maybe even punch list is done. I don't know. On the outcome of welcoming inclusiveness is a key community asset for Cedar Falls so that all residents are empowered to maximize their quality of life. An objective was to implement an expanded community-wide model for engagement and inclusivity. And the Cedar Falls Human Rights Commission was charged with this, and they are pleased to report that they have hosted, sponsored, and/or participated in several community events encouraging community-wide inclusivity. They have also presented many proclamations in support of inclusion and human rights topics. They've added a resource tab to the web page to help with resources there on that topic, and are continuing to build community partnerships and relations to advance in this area. And the last of 8, because I know it gets a little long, but again, trying to just choose from a variety here, is Cedar Falls collaborates closely with Waterloo and other neighboring Cedar Valley communities. And one of the objectives was to initiate a Cedar Valley regional vision and shared strategic plan addressing people, place, and prosperity. And phase 1 of a placemaking planning project was completed in July of 2022, and phase 2 is underway as of May of this year. And we have applied for a couple grants. We have not been successful on some of those, but that's not going to keep us from trying and continuing to try. So as I said at the beginning, I reviewed 8 objectives. There are 37 in the plan, so there's really so much more in the packet if you'd like to read through that. And if there are follow-ups to that, I can certainly help with that. But I thought the question that might be running through your mind, but maybe not, is, well, where would we go from here? What would staff recommend that we do? And we would recommend at this point that we discuss what I have up on the slide at goal setting as a way to continue forward with some of this planning and visioning that has happened and continue to look at our neighborhood areas. We talked when we gave an update on the comprehensive plan that that's a living document, and the actions of neighborhood visioning work, getting to adoption of an updated major thoroughfare plan, which we are working on because that was discussed at goal setting as well. So we hope in a couple months we'll have that ready to bring forward for discussion. Moving forward with the Parks Master Plan, which we've talked about that being pretty important, that plan being from the mid-90s, fairly outdated. We'd like to get better and more current guidance that we can use in park development as well as new developments in terms of park space needed and where. And then continue to feed those into the comprehensive plan, and then think, once we've made it through that, then revisit do we need to do any other updates to the comprehensive plan, or do we want to do another strategic plan? There is a lot of overlap between the two documents. Like I said, they do have some different purposes, though. But the question is there enough community participation to have two plans happening at one time? Because that's the way it's programmed in the CIP right now, based on the council discussion. Is that confusing, or should we try to consolidate them? So those are some of the questions I think that might be good for goal-setting discussion. And with that, I'll answer any questions that I can. There's
All
a lot
right.
of information there.
Thank you. I'll open it up for council to ask any questions. I'll start with one since I don't see anyone, and then I'm sure they'll think of some. So are there any areas in the plan that we haven't really made any headway? I mean, I know there are some, but I guess, is there anything that we should look at focusing on that we haven't yet, that staff recommends, other than what was, zoning and stuff? Any other ones?
Good question. I don't know if off the cuff I could rattle off, but I know in just kind of trying to do a brief review of what would we say, how many are ongoing type of things, or how many are like accomplished, or how many haven't been done. It was somewhere around 6 or 8 that I felt were really kind of maybe not really started, or maybe 1 or 2 not started at all type of thing. Kind of answers your question, but it doesn't give you a specific 1 or 2. I'd be happy to follow up.
That's fine, thank you. Yes, Councilmember DeBur.
You cited 2016 as the start of it, but was that actually the start of the strategic plan, or did they just rename it? Didn't they have a name for it prior to that, or was that the first year that you had both a comprehensive plan and a strategic plan?
2015 is when this one started, and then council passed a resolution to endorse it in 2017. And the way I understand it, but correct me if I'm wrong, is that about every 4 or 5 years, there was a new effort to do kind of a new strategic plan. So this was intended, I think, to replace something that might have been in place before, not connected to the comprehensive plan, though.
Right. That's what I was thinking, was that they had one prior to that 2015 date, but they called it something different.
Yes, and I don't know the name of it, sorry.
Other questions from council? I think it's, important to talk about it goal setting, like you said, how we want to continue on with, do we want to continue with both, and what we can do. So I think it's an important thing. And with that, we got another one. I was just trying to delay a little bit because I feel like
When you mentioned the goal setting,
Yeah.
on that last slide, when you talked about the 3 different vision plans, will you discuss those at goal setting too, whether there can be revisions or changes to those?
As to which ones are listed there, for
Yeah,
example, you're
we've got
saying?
3 of them listed.
Yep, it's up to council. This is staff's recommendation. We had that recommendation last year that this be kind of the order. I might have modified the years based on where we've gone, but yep, that's up to council.
Did you have something?
I don't have a
Councilmember?
question. I just think I appreciate the review. I appreciate the document. I appreciate it is listed who was a part of it back when it started. I just appreciate, I'm a list kind of girl, so to me, this is kind of a list, and it's nice to have a review of what's maybe been checked off or what's in the works. So to me, it very much helps me see the vision, which is what it's supposed to do. So
I
thank
might
you.
just tag on, because I forgot to mention and wanted to, that I did send this final document to all the folks that I asked to get information from, so that they saw where it was. And there was even a couple times where I wanted to verify, did I write this accurately, or did I kind of convey it? So they are aware that the council is discussing it and saw the whole document.
Daryl, are you there? I'm just seeing if he's can make sure he doesn't have any questions.
I'm good.
Okay.
At this point, we don't have to make any motions or anything. It's just a informational presentation, from what I understand.
Correct. I just wanted to make sure you didn't have any questions and that you were there.
No, I'm good. Thank
All
you.
right. Well, with that, we thank you, Director Sheets, and look forward to talking about it at goal setting. And we will convene for our regular council meeting at the top of the hour, and I will now call this meeting adjourned.